Carmela Conroy. You all know her. She's the chair I replaced and ran for Congress last year. She's a union lover and has actually sponsored all the union desserts for this event tonight. And so I wanted to invite Carmela Conroy to come and speak. So it's my great pleasure to be here this afternoon. Hello, Spokane County Democrats and guests. Great to see you. So I've been asked to give the first of 2 Volunteer of the Year awards because under Nada's leadership, we've got so many volunteers coming forward, supporting so many campaigns last year, preparing to celebrate, to support campaigns this year. And one of the things that people keep asking me in these sort of bizarre, unprecedented times is what gives me hope? What makes me think that it's possible that we will retain our democracy? And people sticking their necks out, people getting into what John Lewis called good trouble, are the people that give me hope. And I'm going to mention just briefly a group of people who often don't get recognized. I want to give a shout out to the unnamed group of volunteers who secured the essential government functions on which so many of us rely, and those are union organizers. With congressional Republicans like Michael Baumgartner rolling over for a corrupt tech bro to take a chainsaw to essential government services and pocket the change, I believe that union organizers and unionized workers are the most important fighters for our government of, by, and for the people. And that's the reason why I sponsor desserts for tonight. So thank you to the union organizers who are here or who are going to be here tonight. But let me turn now to a very specific person, a volunteer who's been an unstoppable force for the Spokane County Democrats, Alicia Lau. Is Alicia here now?
Yes!
I'm going to talk while she walks. Alicia has been putting up candidate road signs, launching a campus voter registration program, taking initiatives, solving problems, making things happen, crafting buttons, getting into the nitty-gritty details of resolutions to be proposed to the Washington State Democrats, personally printing voter outreach materials. Alicia does it all, and she embodies the true spirit of grassroots activism. Time and again, Alicia exceeds expectations on behalf of our community, and we are honored to recognize her as the first, but not the last, of the 2024 Volunteer of the Year Awards. Alicia.
Thank you very much. I guess I wouldn't be up here if it wasn't for a lot of people sitting in this room who helped me have the confidence to do it, who had the patience to teach me and my 20 million questions. Yeah, so if anything, I am honored to have this, but I think it's more because of everybody else that I even do have this. And anything, can I put a plug in? So currently, we're working on candidate recruitment for the elections coming up locally, and if people aren't wanting to step up. They're more worried about national. National is important, but you have to have the influence locally to make an effect nationally. So if you know people who want to run, or you can convince them, if you can explain to people why local is so important. Patrick Miller is outside. Go talk to him. He's the head of that, and help us out. Thank you.
So we had to give Alicia's award early because she's getting ready to go to her kids' school and volunteer at 6. So I want to thank Rudy for sneaking her in here without her knowing why she's here. And everyone that was involved, thank you so much, Carmela, for being able to come in early and do that. And so with that, I just say thank you so much
for building this community, for being part of it. Sometimes the most you can do is just one step in front of the other, and we are all doing that in our own personal lives. We get to choose the attitudes we have when we make those steps. We get to choose how we see the world. We get to solve problems in the paths that we get to choose. And together, we are a force. Together, we are not helpless. Together, we are united, and we are the sovereigns of this nation. So, I hope you guys have a wonderful hour of visiting, and then dinner will start at 6. Thank you so much for being here, and I look forward to talking to every one of you.
Live from Willoughby Park Hotel in Baltimore, welcome to 2025 Spokane County Tom Foley Legacy Award Dinner. Please welcome warmly our Spokane Democratic County Chair, Nada Spencer.
Thank you from the bottom of my heart for supporting all the hard work that our volunteers do all year to get Democrats elected, to build the Democratic Party in Spokane County, and to make sure that people actually have a voice and representatives who represent them, not just their special interests, the oil companies, all those things that like to donate to the Republican Party. We like to do it the hard way here. So, please, every penny that you donate tonight will go to our operations. We have no staff. We are all volunteers. We have no outside contributors. All our contributors come from Spokane County. So please, if you believe in what we do, if you want to make a difference in our local community, if you like roads paved and schools funded and libraries having books, and you want elected officials in the office that will do that, please donate, because we have over 100 races this year to support and to recruit for. So I want to thank a few people who are in the room right now. Tim Hattenberg, Deputy Mayor, the Vice Chair of Spokane Valley. Vicki Dalton, our heroic Spokane County auditor. Commissioner leading the charge to make sure that there's housing and transportation and all those amazing things that we need. Andy Billig, our retired senator from the 3rd. Hopefully enjoying baseball. And of course, our Governor Bob Ferguson, who is here to make his presence known here at Eastern Washington. Thank you so much. Here is Chair of the Washington State Democrats, the one who has led Washington in leading the elections last year. We are one of the few states that made ground. We are one of the few counties in the nation that made ground. So Shasky Conrad, our leader in charge of that, and turning the Democratic Party into being more in tune with the people and not big donors. So, without further ado, our volunteer made a special video as a thank you to Governor Ferguson for his fight against the Trump administration. And so at first, right now, we're going to do the Star Spangled Banner, and then after that, that gift from composer Gary Edwards and performed by the Brent Easton Trio will be doing. So if you would please rise for the Star Spangled Banner.
Can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the bombs bursting in air, they prove through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free, the home of the brave.
All right. Are you guys ready? Thank you. Gary Edwards composed that song for Governor Ferguson, and that was played by the Brent Easton Trio. Without further ado, our governor. The bulwark against the Trump administration the first time as our Attorney General, and the man who has now taken the mantle and is working his tail off. Please, with a warm welcome, our Governor, Bob Ferguson.
Hey, give it for Renata and the volunteers and everybody who made this event possible. Give them a big round of applause. Thank you all so much. And I flew over from Seattle this morning. My wife Colleen works at a community college, and part of her job involves traveling a fair amount. So she's actually in Peru. She works in international education. So she's gone for 2 weeks. I've got 2 teenagers at home, single dad. $16 billion budget shortfall. What could possibly go wrong for the next 2 weeks, right? But I flew over because I wanted to ask you a few questions. Are you ready to fight for your democracy?
Yeah!
Are you outraged by Elon Musk and Donald Trump and what they're doing to power across this country?
Yeah!
Do you want Democratic elected officials to stand up for your rights and take on that administration? Then I have good news. I have good news. We are lucky to be in a state where we've got folks who are fighting for those rights. And it starts with each and every one of you, by the way, right? We're in this together, being out there marching on the streets, writing letters to the editor, making phone calls, donating to congressional Democrats all across the country. Are we going to take back Congress in 2 years?
Yeah!
So we're in this together. We're in this together. But let me just start by saying a few words about 2024, because while it was a dark election on the national scene, more about that in a moment, I do want to start by thanking all of you for your support in my campaign for governor. It was not an easy campaign. We had a tough opponent, but thanks to you, we had a significant double-digit victory over Dave Reichert. Thanks to your support. And here's how we did it. Here's how we did it. We raised the funds we needed to get our message out by not accepting a single dollar from large corporations or corporate PACs. Not a single dollar. We received over 100,000 donations from Washingtonians all across the state. I've not looked it up, but I'm sure it is a record for a gubernatorial election. Individual Washingtonians, $10, $15, $25, $50, $100. Many of you here in this room made those donations, put up the yard signs. We had a grassroots campaign, and that rode us to victory. And that's the model of how to do it, right? We can do it at a grassroots level, working together, we can win these big victories, and we do that right here in Spokane County and Spokane City this year and next year. Are you ready to do that? Let's do it. Now, on such a wonderful evening, I kind of hate to mention the following 2 words to dampen the mood, but we got to talk about Donald Trump, right? We got to do it. So first, I want to take you back in time. In 2017, right, we've seen this movie before, when Donald Trump first came into office, the first state to challenge Donald Trump in court was Washington State, right? Literally, the first state. We went in there on our own to take him on the first Muslim travel ban.
And the first state to defeat him in court was Washington State, right? And I was AG at that time. I remember being at this event during those years multiple times. And we beat him in court over those 4 years nearly 60 times. Nearly 60 times. We lost just 3 cases, by the way, right? The incredible team at the AG's office worked extremely hard, right? And we built that team up. During my time in the AG's office as Attorney General, we went from not having a civil rights division at all. We literally had not a single attorney or a member of our professional staff advocating for your civil rights, to literally having the best civil rights division in the country, right? We really grew that team. And they and other folks in the office were core to defending our rights, protecting our environment during those challenging 4 years. Fast forward to 2024. My last year as Attorney General, Donald Trump obviously running for president, and I just remember thinking there was a chance that guy could get elected again, despite all logic, okay, right, that he could get elected again. And so the team in the AG's office, I said, get ready for that in case he gets elected. My team in the AG's office went through Project 2025 line by line and literally start preparing potential lawsuits. If, for example, Donald Trump got elected and if he tried to, for example, end something as basic as birthright citizenship, right? So guess what? When he got elected, first thing he tried to do was get rid of birthright citizenship. Guess who was the first state in the union to take him on in court again? Washington State. Guess who was the first state in the country to beat him in court again? Washington State. So this is what it takes, right? Being organized, being thoughtful, putting the work in, and taking them on in whatever role we play. The AG's office, we've got a legal team. They can take them on in court, right? As a Washingtonian, you have a role to play as well, right? To change the makeup of Congress, to help elect great Democrats at the local level. It's going to take concerted effort by all of us for these next 4 years to get through these next 4 years. But look, I'm a glass half full kind of guy, and I am mindful of how serious things are right now at the federal level. I'm mindful of that. Unfortunately, a part of every day in my life now as your governor is dealing with the latest outrage from the federal government and what that means for our state. But the team's working hard on that and working hard to prepare for that. Thank you. Thank you. Now, I also want to say something about a great Washingtonian, and that's Tom Foley, right? Tom Foley. During my campaign, I was back in DC for a fundraiser, and there was just like a 20-person fundraiser back there, and I noticed a woman sat down right next to me at the table. I looked over, and it was Tom Foley's wife, Heather. There she was. I mean, going strong, and she had lots of opinions for me about my campaign, by the way. And she helped run Tom Foley's office, as you well know, right? She had lots of thoughts about the future of the state, lots of thoughts about the campaign. It was so great to see her. And I do want to say, because it was a Tom Foley dinner, first, thank you for remembering such a wonderful public servant, And I just actually earlier today, as many of you know, my first job as a lawyer was right here in Spokane. And I worked for a federal judge who actually just retired from the bench. His name's Frem Nielsen, a federal judge, very respected judge. And he's 90 years old, just retired from the bench. And Judge Nielsen, before he went on the bench, he was active in local politics on the other side of the aisle, right? Republican back in the 60s and 70s. And so we were talking about Tom Foley. And he said, you know what, I knew him well. And even though we were on opposite sides, he was always a man of great civility, right? He was someone you could have a conversation with, someone you could have a discussion with, someone you could find common ground with. And let's be honest, right? We are badly in need of even more elected officials who have that quality, right? Now look, we also have, with our friends in the federal government, we've got some challenges here with our state and what's going on. I'm going to talk about that for a minute. What's happening with the federal government is on a daily basis impacting us right here. I give you a lot of examples, but let me give you just one. Many of you know we have a huge challenge, and that's an understatement, with our budget situation here in Washington State. So we have a $16 billion budget shortfall that I've inherited. We can talk all night about that and the challenges that come with that, but balancing that budget, which we are required by law to do, by the way, it is not going to be easy. I'm determined to balance that budget in a way that preserves core services, right, that we value as a state. For example, K through 12 education, right? Public safety, making sure we protect the most vulnerable. These things are important, that we handle this difficult budget situation in a thoughtful way. In contrast, though, what we see is the federal government making dramatic cuts to federal funds that come into states like Washington. So to give you a sense of scale, in our budget, about 28% of our entire budget comes from the federal government. As one example, Medicaid, about 75% of our Medicaid dollars, and you know where those dollars go to help thousands of Washingtonians who really need it, right? Those come from the federal government. 2 days ago, you might have seen the headlines. The federal government cut $160 million in federal funds to Washington State for public health. That's 250 employees who do core work to preserve public health in our state. Gone, right? No advance warning, no nothing, just gone. Now look, the AG's office, I'm sure, is looking at that to see if there can be a challenge to it. But the reality is, sometimes we can take them on in court and beat them, but sometimes they're going to do outrageous things that are lawful. Outrageous, but lawful. As a state, we've got to be ready for that. So we also have to balance our $16 billion budget shortfall in a way that prepares us for potentially dire cuts from the federal government. And Medicaid is just the one example, right? So we have our work cut out for us in these coming years with Donald Trump. I thank God every day we have U.S. Senators like Marie Cantwell and Patty Murray fighting for us back in Washington. I know that here in Spokane, you're not able to rely on your congressman in the same way, right? And but that's why I'm going to keep coming out here to Spokane to see and talk to each one of you and talk about what's going on and how we're going to have a contrast to Washington, D.C. We're going to show how one takes on challenges as a state in a way that's thoughtful, in a way that stands up for workers, in a way that protects public health, preserves public safety, preserves core services for a state. There's tough challenges ahead for us, but we can do that if we lean into this together. That's going to be critical for us in these next 4 years. So I just want to wrap up by saying how much I appreciate each and every one of you who have helped me throughout my political journey. I remember coming to this dinner back when I was first running for Attorney General back in 2011 and 2012. Seems like a long time ago now, right? But you've been with me every step of the way, supporting my campaigns, coming to my events, putting up the yard signs, making those small donations. And I just want you to know that makes a difference, right? And for the elections we have coming up right here in Spokane and this county and this part of the state, I'm just going to remind you of one thing. When I first ran for office, my very first campaign, longer ago than I want to admit, I ran for a local office. I ran for the county council. And I ran against an incumbent who'd been on the county council for more than 20 years, who was chair of the county council. It was an uphill campaign, to put it mildly. Folks thought I had no chance. It was a doorbelling campaign, it was a grassroots campaign, and in the end I won that election. And I'll tell you about how close it was. If one voter in every precinct had changed their vote, just one voter had changed their vote, I would have lost. And I would not be here talking to you as your governor. I would never have been your attorney general. That would never have happened. But I won that by one vote because I personally knocked on 22,000 doors. All my supporters and volunteers and my family members, they knocked on another 20,000 doors. My late father put up God knows how many yard signs all across the district. He'd come by the house every day and pick up the load and the address list and go out there, and he's a Dan Evans Republican, he's passed away now, but he went out there and banged in those yard signs and engaged with voters, right? That's how you do it, right? And so I'm telling you, there will be an election right here that gets decided by 25 votes, by 50 votes, by 100 votes. And it can make a huge difference for these local elections, for what's going on locally, but also you never know where that elected official is going to go someday, right? You never know where they're going to go. So I appreciate all you do for the Democratic Party. I appreciate all you've done for me throughout my campaigns. And I just promise to do the best I can to lead the state in a way that is thoughtful, in a way that leads with our values. But also, we have some tough challenges ahead. And I'm just a believer in being upfront with everybody I talk to about those challenges. I don't believe in sugarcoating things. The challenges are real, and we've got some tough choices to make. But I'm confident we can get through this and set our course for an even brighter Washington State. Thanks so much, everybody. Have a great day.
Welcome, everybody. Everybody having a good time tonight? You know, we live in some strange times when the IKEA Furniture Company has a better cabinet than the United States government. And the other day, Donald Trump came to pass. He's getting old. He's got to be thinking about end-of-life decisions. What's he going to do? So he decided that he needed to be buried someplace grandiose, befitting to his personality and charisma. So he called up Netanyahu of Israel and asked him, how much would it cost for me to be buried where Christ was buried? He said, I know, Donald, this is something the president we've never ever done, even considered anything like that before. I'll call you back tomorrow. So Netanyahu calls back Trump the next day. He says, Mr. President, it's going to cost you $500 million. Trump goes, for 3 days. Fortunately, this dinner has also had share of much better jokes and much better speakers than I. Back in 1960, anybody want to remember who the guest speaker was that year? John F. Kennedy, a young man from Boston. Part of our legacy. And the reason they got John Kennedy is because they couldn't get Bob Ferguson yet. But right now, we've got a video, because one time a couple years back, when this evolved to just the legacy dinner, so the Tom Foley Legacy Dinner, someone asked me, the legacy of what? So my daughter and I put together this little video to answer that question. I hope you all appreciate it.
In 1932, America and the world were in the grips of an economic disaster. 23% of all American workers were unemployed. Many had been that way for more than 2 years. In April of 1932, 25% of the privately held Mississippi farms were sold at auction for unpaid taxes. The Mississippi State Treasury had less than $1,500 in the bank. The Midwest was ravaged by drought and dust storms and record low crop prices. At a time when America desperately needed a drink, Prohibition kept you from having it. Legally, at least. By 1933, somehow things had gotten worse. Unemployment was nearly 25%. New York Central Park rangers reported families living in the Central Park caves. Bank failures had pushed the Federal Reserve System to the brink of collapse. The previous November election gave the American voters hope. Franklin Delano Roosevelt, former governor of the state of New York, won the White House in a landslide, 470 electoral votes, and took all but 6 states, riding in on his coattails 313 Democratic congressmen and 58 senators. In the first 100 days, FDR and the Democratic Congress put forth the most productive session since before the Civil War. A bank holiday was declared to calm the financial markets. The WPA, NRA, the CCC, and the many other output agencies that finally allowed millions of Americans to get back to earning a paycheck. For the first time in a long time, someone in government cared about the little guy. Congress also passed the REA, the Rural Electrification Act. In 1932, only 10% of American farms had electricity. By 1945, 90% of the American farms were electrified. The coal lamp was all but buried. Spokane resident, U.S. Senator C.C. Dill, championed the building of the Grand Coulee Dam. In its day, it was the largest dam ever built, employing thousands of workers. During World War II, it powered the Kaiser aluminum mill, which produced the needed aluminum for Boeing to make the B-17. Also, there's something very secret going on at a place called the Hamtramck Reservation.
share that with you to let you know there have been dark times, but great progress has been made from those dark times. That every time our country is given a choice, and every time our citizens given a choice to divulge into fear and othering, in the end, that darkness, we turn it around. We take care of the needs of the citizens, we take care of each other, because that's who we are as Americans, and it doesn't matter if we have differences. So there have been dark times, but there have been many Americans gone before us who have met the moment and moved forward. And we benefit from that. And our children and grandchildren and neighbors' children will benefit from the work of our hands today. So with that in mind, I would like to introduce Chair Shasti Conrad. We were one of the few states to make progress, to push back against the Trump and MAGA movement. Under her leadership, she has moved us more work towards the rural areas and bring a focus over here to Eastern Washington. I would like to please introduce Chair Shasti Conrad, our wonderful chair.
All right. Good evening, Spokane County Democrats. How are we doing tonight? How are we doing? That feels like a very loaded question these days. I want to start by saying a big thank you to Chair Nina Spencer, who has just been doing an amazing, amazing job. Thank you. He's up and taking photos. My former vice chair and now the state party's treasurer, David Green. I want to say a big thank you to David for his leadership here and also across the state. Vice Chair Matthew Sori and state committee members Dr. Bernadine Bank and Shay Pagan, thank you for meeting. And a big thank you to all of you. Thank you for coming tonight, but thank you for your years and years of work to continue to build such a strong party out here. It is so important. And I do want to make a note, because I do feel like you all have some magical powers here, because I spoke at last year's Foly Dinner alongside a very special guest who was Ken Martin, who at the time was the head of our Association of State Democratic Committee. Now, Ken Martin is the new DNC chair and is leading and has been really bringing incredible leadership back to the National Party. And just a few weeks ago, Ken appointed me as associate chair of the DNC. So we're bringing leadership from Washington to the National Party right now. That was an incredible film about the moment that Tom Foley sort of produced Tom Foley, and I think it's an incredible moment and opportunity that you all continue to honor his memory and his work. Speaker Tom Foley was truly a titan of Congress, and his legacy continues to reverberate throughout all of Washington state. And unfortunately, Speaker Foley's signature accomplishment, which was pairing together agricultural subsidies to nutritional assistance for children and the poor, is on the chopping block with today's Republican trifecta. These few months have been enraging, demoralizing, infuriating, and depressing. Trump is driving our family farms out of business. He has tried to erase the existence of trans people. He has denigrated our allies and befriended our enemies. He has given oligarchs approval to strip our government for parts. And he has emboldened the worst aspects of our society, the fascists, the racists, and the neo-Nazis who now see themselves in the White House. An institution which I love and where I worked to make life better for every American is now home to someone who sees nothing wrong with our nation's Secretary of Defense spreading classified information in a group chat. And it's not that they can't perform the basic functions of government, they just don't want to. They have no regard and no interest for doing anything that is following the rules of law. I have great compassion for other states who can only catalog the horrors coming from this administration. But here in our Washington, there wasn't a massive Republican shift. We did our job. We re-elected Senator Maria Cantwell. We elected Bob Ferguson, yes, by one of the largest margins ever for an time in 59 years, we re-elected the entire Democratic congressional delegation and added Emily Randall to its ranks. Yes, we took a state Senate seat and a state House seat. We protected the capital gains tax, long-term care insurance, and our carbon market. And you all sent Marcus Riccelli to the state Senate. You re-elected Tim Ormsby, and you elected the most amazing new state representative, Natasha Hill. Yes. And you know, if you account for every single statewide office, we are the only state that went more blue in 2024 compared to 2020. Yes, lots to be proud of. But what's terrible is that despite our success in this Washington, it wasn't enough to keep Trump and his billionaires out of the other Washington. What we need is more of our Washington and less of that Washington. Our Washington works to build the biggest tent possible, stretching from the Columbia River to Canada, from the west side to the east side. Trump's Washington only cares about what's best for him. Our Washington is focused on doing what is best for all of our people. Yes. Trump Washington puts partisan politics and absolute loyalty over everything else. Our Washington has been leading the way out of this mess since Trump's first term, when our new governor, Bob Ferguson, filed 99 lawsuits to stop Trump's lawlessness. 99 lawsuits. And now we have the incredible Nick Brown in the Attorney General's office, who is showing that our Washington will always protect our constitutional rights. Nick's work has helped pause the end of birthright citizenship, restore gender-affirming care for young people, challenge Elon Musk's virtually unchecked authority to rip up our government, and help restore billions in congressionally approved funding. And the list of lawsuits that Washington State has not only joined but led is very, very long. Trump's Washington has sent nearly 250,000 Americans to the unemployment line, shaken consumer confidence, instigated a trade war with our North American allies, and his tariffs are already gouging farmers, while his abuses against undocumented people are creating work shortages and absolute trauma and terror. Here in our Washington, we have the top economy in the country last year. We have high-skilled workers and blue-collar union siblings, and our high minimum wage, paid family leave, and capital gains tax are putting paychecks in families' bank accounts while making our tax structure fairer for the struggling and the well-off. I am eternally grateful to the leaders of our state who are making sure that our Washington doesn't end up like Trump's Washington. And Senator Patty Murray and Maria Cantwell and every single congressional Democrat stood strong for our Washington against Trump's budget that will directly take resources from the poor and give them to the ultra-wealthy. Boom. And you all know that guy Michael Baumgartner. Boom. He takes his orders from the other Washington. He is not here with our Washington. He voted against every constituent here in the 5th Congressional District who relies on Apple Health for their life-saving health care. And I hope that everyone here is ready to work to make sure that he understands that that vote is going to cost him this district. And we are going to take it back in 2026. We can do it. And you want to talk about government efficiency? Our governor shortened the wait time for trans and non-binary people seeking to have their birth certificates match their identity from 10 months to 3 days. 3 days! That's government efficiency. Trump thinks government efficiency is firing Social Security workers at your neighborhood office, selling that office to one of his friends, and then telling you that you need to get your Social Security check by going to that office, and you gotta go and find it and prove that you earned it. That's our money. That is our money. And then he wants you to say thank you. He wants you to say thank you to that dirty look. If you are angry right now, I am too. If you are scared about what our country and how our country is moving forward, so am I. But if you think there's nothing more we can do, there is always more that we can do. Always. What we cannot do is give up. We cannot give in. We cannot check out. We cannot ignore what is happening to our country. And that doesn't mean working yourself into the ground. Our joy and our rest is a part of the resistance. They want us to be machines. They want us to tune out. We will not let that happen. We will not let that happen. And tonight, we get to enjoy our success because of each and every single one of you. The only way we won in our Washington was through the strength and gift of our volunteers and supporters like all of you. Your hard work, your phone calls, your organizing, that's how we became the only state in the nation to stop Trump's red tide from washing all of us away. All of us. Around the country, glimmers of hope are starting to shine through the darkness. Democrats have overperformed in the top of the 2024 ticket in all but one of the 12 special elections that have been held so far this year. In Minnesota, DFL candidate Doran Clark overperformed the November ticket by 14 points, winning the Senate election. In Maine, Democrat Sean Faircloth overperformed the top of the ticket by 20 points. And in Iowa, Democrat Mike Zimmer flipped a Trump plus 21 district. And just on Tuesday, we won 2 big seats in Pennsylvania. We are fighting back. We are showing that we are not going to take this lightly. And we're going to do it again this Tuesday when we take back those congressional seats in Florida and we win a Supreme Court race in Wisconsin. This energy, I don't know if you're doing it, but this energy is flowing through every part of this country. And we saw it just a couple weeks ago here in Spokane at Baumgartner's town hall. He is going on conservative radio and deluding himself into believing that it was all the anger in the room was from outside of the district progressives. But I know it was most of you all. It was all you all. You did that. And he is in for a rude awakening when all of the people in CD5 who have been hurt by his policies rise up in November 2026. And make no mistake, it's a long 2 years, but we have survived and we will do it again. A couple weeks ago, I saw the musical Hamilton again. It's 10-year anniversary. It's still, 10 years. It still hangs through. And the founders of our nation knew how fragile our democracy is. Freedom and democracy are not given, they are earned. Our ancestors fought for their freedoms time and time again so that all of us would be better off. Now it is our turn to stand up for democracy so that the generations who come after us can lead full, free lives. In Hamilton they say, what is a legacy? It's planting seeds in a garden you never get to see. Right now is our legacy-making opportunity. We must answer the call and defend our government from the corrosive forces of Trump and Musk's Republican Party. Are you with me, Spokane? Thank you so much. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Chair Conrad. Really appreciate that. So that brings us to next year, right? She's talking about in 2 years, we have a big fight against Baumgartner and all those others. Well, you know how we win that? Is by building that this year. This year is when we do the work to get voters ready to take on Baumgartner in our district, to support our candidates for Congress. And this year is when you support our school district races, our mayors, city council, water commissioners, fire commissioners. So with that in mind, I'm going to turn you over to Rick Lloyd.
I'm back. I've been doing this for about 10 or 12, 15 years now. I decided it was a good idea to put a memorial up for those folks so we can have one last chance to see them. Because they're always going to be in our hearts and mind, but sometimes you aren't going to see them every day. So this is for all the great Democrats who passed in the year 2024.
I am so honored to have been invited to speak to you all today. When I was asked to speak tonight, I was debating whether to speak to you all as an immigrant or as a politician. And I stood on, I thought about it, and I made the conclusion that because of the situation of our country, it impacts me in all levels, so I'll speak to you in both. I want to introduce myself. A lot of you know me, maybe some of you don't. My name is Irina Larrete, and I am an immigrant from Mexico City. I moved to Spokane with my family in 1988. My mom and dad were seeking a better life for their 3 daughters and a new beginning in a new country that claims to be the land of the free and the home of the brave, right? Being in the States, we learned the language. We went through, if I might add, the very broken immigration system, and we obtained our work permits, then our temporary permits, then our permanent residency. We had to wait 5 years to apply for citizenship, and 12 years later, we became naturalized citizens. We were lucky and blessed that for us, it only took 12 years, compared to other folks who have taken over 15 years, and COVID made it a lot worse. I really get a kick when people say, or pretend to be lawyers and say, why don't you all come the right way? Because the right way is damn broken. There is no way right now. Talking about this makes me upset and angry. Okay, I'm going to some stats. And bear with me. I love stats, I love my numbers. When I was writing my speech, my legislative aides, like, they're going to numbers. Like, I like my numbers. People need to hear. People need to hear what us as immigrants are here about, and that's with numbers. Studies from the Center on Migration Studies, they've shown that there are 15.4 million undocumented immigrants as of January 2025. In addition, undocumented immigrants paid $96.7 billion in federal, state, and local taxes in 2022. Most of that amount, $59.4 billion, was paid to federal government, while the remaining $37.3 billion was paid to state and local governments. And that is paid by ITIN numbers. Those are numbers that are given by the IRS to undocumented immigrants. So when they apply for citizenship or permanent residency, they show that they are paying taxes. Why are we as immigrants important? Immigrants are important because we contribute significantly to the economy by filling labor shortages, starting businesses, and driving innovation, while also enriching society through cultural diversity and promoting family unity and our food. Our few workers who were deemed non-essential helped us survive through their hard work, and some of them even losing their lives to COVID. Approximately 73% of the agricultural workforce in the United States are immigrants. Roughly 40% of those are undocumented. I personally had the honor to work with agricultural workers during the pandemic when I worked at Planned Parenthood. I managed a Latina outreach program called Raíz, which means fruit in Spanish. Or, I'm sorry, in English. Bilingual. We were the first nonprofit to create a mobile clinic and to go out to the fields in Central Washington and Walla Walla to offer resources. Medicine, PPE, testing, food cards, vaccines when they became available, and many other needs to our communities that were needed. We held these mobile clinics on weekends from March to late September. We rented a van We loaded it with our medical tent, medical equipment, coolers to keep the vaccines at the adequate temperature and anything else that we needed. And to say this was a challenge is an understatement. We worked in temperatures of 101 degrees with PPE gear, and we just felt, if we feel this heat with all this, imagine our agricultural workers working from 4 a.m. until 7 p.m. We as Latinos, we don't trust people easily. It took us a while to gain the trust of our patients. I shared my story of how I came to the U.S. and why I love the job that I had. And that made a bridge and something in common with the patients that I came across with. We both shared the struggle and the need to succeed. We heard hundreds of personal stories from farm workers and local community members. Most of their stories were how they got here and how the system has failed them. However, they remained in the country because they had family that depended on them. I remember a particular story from a 72-year-old gentleman who came to one of our mobile clinics in Yakima. He had been in the States since he was 15 years old. He came with some friends to work in the fields to support his parents. He didn't have any family here, and his parents had passed away in Mexico, never seeing them again. Sorry. He tried to file several times to get his green card, never succeeded. He never committed a crime in his life. He just wanted to work. He came to be seen because he had a second-degree burn on his foot and didn't have insurance. On his other foot, he had bad athlete's foot from his boots being old and the heat and sweat from working outside in the fields. When we came the third year to the same place, he had passed away. We also heard a story from a woman, a mother of 3 children, who had been waiting for 5 years on her green card and application. She came to our clinic to be seen because she had a lump on her left breast. She also had no criminal record. I took to heart all these stories and hope to one day represent and fight for not only the folks that deserve justice, but also to be the voice for them. On January 22nd, 2024, I became the first immigrant Latina appointed to Spokane City Council after 133 years. That because as humble as I am, I consider myself damn proud of breaking the glass ceiling. And I'm glad to have shown que sí se puede. And most of all, I'm glad that I'm able to fight for marginalized communities and for the voiceless, the intimidated, and the underrepresented. To be a politician during these times is more challenging than ever, especially if you're not white. But it's also more important than ever. As Democrats, we must stick to our values and act by them. As Democrats, we need a fresh approach to immigration. During the Obama administration, I did have to mention this. He broke the record as a Democrat president with the most deportations in history, without offering some sort of amnesty to undocumented folks. Except when he was about to leave office, he presented DACA as an executive order, and that is still in limbo, and millions of DACA folks fearing to be deported.
We can do better!
Yes, we can. Yes, we can. The last amnesty was President Reagan's Immigration Reform and Control Act of 1986. We haven't had anything for immigrants after that, not by a Republican nor a Democrat president. We need to do better. These are hopeless and desperate times for immigrants, and marginalized communities in our country. Our LGBTQ+ community is being erased and being unprotected. The human rights of undocumented people are being violated to the point that they are dying in cells from hunger and thirst, only because they don't have a damn piece of paper to show that they are legally in this country. No criminal record on file. Our freedom of speech is being censored, where we must be careful to what we protest. I ask you all this tonight as Democrats, the so-called party of the people. When are we going to have the spine to stand up and fight back? When are we going to show up for our constituents and our voters? Undocumented folks can't vote, but they are constituents. They are protected under the U.S. Constitution once they put a foot in U.S. soil. When are we going to stop looking the other way, y'all? And when are we gonna get our shit together and work? I'm no stranger, just speaking the truth. We need to start acting and walk our talk as Democrats. We need this country to be the land of the free again, and we need to be the brave ones to make it so. Locally, we can start by donating and reaching out to folks, organizations that work with immigrants, refugees, LGBTQ+, and those that still do DEI work. We haven't gone anywhere. So we need to start doing this now. We haven't done anything for the last 8 years. So when? Thank you.
We have wrapped up our awards presentation. We have wrapped up our awards presentation, but this event has 1,000 moving parts. And it would not be possible without the great folks from VIP Audio back there in the back room, to them, for their audio services, the Managing Park Hotel. Next time you want a great Sunday brunch, check out here. And also, anybody who volunteered putting this giant show together, stand up please, and a big round of applause. Come on, there's so many volunteers. Of course, having a great crew is only possible if you have a great captain. And I've been given these flowers by a lovely person out in the audience who wanted to make sure that they were a thank you gift for our chair, Nita Spencer. So here you go, Nita. Thank you for putting on the show. This captain, everything you do every day. You know, you're sitting here with me, someone finished their show. It's Nita Spencer.
Everything we do is because there are hundreds of people involved. I just listen to complaints and say, hey, how do we fix this? So I just want to thank you for every one of your labors of love, those who have been in leadership in the past and who we stand on your shoulders, and the work that you did all those years, and the work that will be turned over to the next generation, and they'll build on what we built. And I'm just so grateful to be a Democrat. We know how to have fun. Yeah. We also know how to solve problems together. Yeah. And that is what we do. And that is what all these amazing people who've received awards are. They are people who solve problems and solve problems together with us. And that is what we stand for. And that is what we're going to continue to do.
Obviously, the federal issues are really distracting and really scary, right? I mean, we've got a lot of major changes coming down from the federal government, affecting pretty much everybody. And we're really having to really redouble our efforts here at the local level to try to make a bulwark against all that damage.
This was really inspiring.
This was a wonderful bright spot when we have lots of negatives to be dealing with, but we'll stay together and be stronger, and we'll make it forward. We're going to change things for the better.
¿Qué piensas de la situación política aquí en los Estados Unidos?
Muy mal.
¿Y usted está ayudando para resolver la situación?
100%. Después del trabajo, veo a ver qué hago para ayudar a nuestra gente.
Y dinos su nombre, por favor.
Lili Navarrete.
¿Está corriendo por un puesto en el gobierno?
No, ahorita tengo un puesto, pero decidí no correr. Tengo que tomar un tiempo para sanar algo que tengo, pero voy a regresar.
Gracias por su esfuerzo.
Troubling, of course, but I'm hopeful and going to keep working towards doing what's right. So.
And how do you think we can do that?
By staying local, the grassroots movements, knocking on doors, and investing in our communities.
Let's hear it for the band. Great job, guys. The Brent Ekstrom Band, right?